Okay, so today we are going to go over the installation of a SSD drive in a 2015 iMac. This is the model that has the adhesive for the screen. So what you can see here is I'm using the iFix tool to open to cut the adhesive strips between the screen and the chassis. So this tool has a little wheel on it, and that rolls around and then cut the adhesive that holds the screen down. And it does take a while for it to cut all the way through. So once it's cut, carefully lift the screen, but not too high. There are two connectors on the bottom that is going to hold the screen. I think one's power, one's signal. So once those are disconnected, you can fully push the screen up. As you can see here, the top, those are the cables that were disconnected. Because there's no easy way to cut or to separate the adhesive on the bottom, I ended up just using the tool to try to cut as much as I can. On the iFixit website, it's telling you that there are two little tabs you can pull that end up basically separating or pulling the entire adhesive strip, which actually did work. So that's what I end up doing to basically disconnect the screen. And once it's disconnected, what I'm doing here is removing the brackets for the hard drive that's in there. So this hard drive is a 1 terabyte standard hard disk drive. Spins at 5,400 RPM, so that makes things pretty slow for booting up. What I'm doing here is trying to clean the fan a little bit. The thing has been I don't think it's ever been cleaned. So just disassemble as much as I can, and then get rid of the dust that's in the fins, and then basically use the can air to clean as much dust as I can. So I put the fan back by mistake, actually. As you can see, what I was gonna do. So look it up on their website. The 2015 model supposedly has the capability of installing an Apple SSD. So, and that's what I'm doing here, is removing the little screws that'll disconnect the strip that's underneath, and then I don't know why I'm doing things in out of order, but taking things apart, putting the bracket on the SSD that I was going to install. It's a Samsung A70 Evo 512 gig solid state. Now I'm disconnecting all the connectors. Mostly the from this view is on the left hand side, but if you look at the computer properly from the front, it's actually the right speaker. I'm also disconnecting all the cables that I can, or connectors, as you can see, to disconnect the connectors. One of the connectors, I need to remove the fan assembly. So now the speaker comes out. You gotta disconnect, and then the Wi-Fi signal cable is in the way, so you need to take that out as well. And then the speaker comes out, and I'm slowly taking apart or disconnecting the tape, or removing the tape that is holding the signal cable, or Wi-Fi, antenna cables. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to remove the motherboard, the main board from the chassis. And slowly I'm discovering there's more screws that I need to remove. So fully taking out the bracket, or actually not the bracket. This is the power supply on the bottom. In this case, in this view, it's on the top. Two screws holding it in place. Once they're removed, the power supply comes out. You got to be very careful with removing this. If you let the device sit for a while, a few days, then you probably don't need to worry about it as much. But if you just turn it on and turn it off, and now that you're disassembling it, make sure you don't touch any of the metal parts. So here, removing all the screws, or I thought I removed all the screws, and apparently there's still some, and I think once the last one was removed, I was able to wiggle things out. Actually, no, I take it back. So I still couldn't do it. Two of the radio cables has to disconnect for it to fully come out. One of the cables is really short, so that's why it didn't come out. And so I was hoping that I would be able to install the SSD. And so now I flip it over. It turns out this motherboard does not have that. The connector is never installed. So all of that was for nothing. So now I'm just putting everything back in. So going back in is just really just the reverse step. There's a couple things that I actually didn't do as I put them back in. So as you can see, the long thick cable in the middle, and I'm actually putting the brackets for the hard drives back on, or trying to. The cable was actually run in clips, or under clips under that bracket. So when I reinstalled it, I didn't bother to put that back in. Didn't feel like it was necessary really for the most part. So yeah, so trying to get the screws in, trying to get all the connectors back in. Yeah, so the hard drive. Yeah, this little cable was a little weird. It has to be run in certain ways so that once I put the screw in, it's not gonna cut the cable. So what I did there is that was actually described on iFixes, that you want to, once you install the motherboard, make sure that the ports on the back line up with the holes. So that's what I did, was checking that, and now reinstalling the signal cables for Wi-Fi. Just trying to push the tape down so that they stay put. Yeah, and then reconnecting all the cables as much as I can. So once all that's back in, fan assembly goes back in. Yeah, so now it's installed in hard drive. This part is, I think whether I had the cable installed properly underneath the bracket or not, I don't think it would make that big of a difference. You just need to make sure that the connectors are connected to the SSD drive. Then putting the bracket cover back on, and then putting the speakers in. The speakers, it's not that bad. So there's a couple of things you wanted to be careful with. Is make sure one is the connectors is all the way in, and then the Wi-Fi signal cable is run on the side. I think yeah. So I ended up needing to pull that out and put it back in. I think I installed that twice. Just didn't feel like it was installed correctly the first time. So yeah, there it comes out, and then go back in. So there is a little groove in the speaker, so to allow the cable to run properly. So now tighten everything down, double checked everything without installing the actual Apple SSD. Again, that was not possible. So now this is the cleaning part. The caveat is that the original Apple strip is actually not that hard to remove. So I was able to peel it away fairly easily. I bought the replacement strip from iFixit. So yeah, while you're watching this part, the speaker in this view on the left hand side, which really is the right speaker, I didn't actually install it correctly the first time. So the connector wasn't pushed all the way in. So when I get everything closed up, I didn't have any sound on the right hand side, so I had to open it back up again afterwards. So I didn't record that part, but just giving a sort of a comparison is that this part is cleaning up the surface so that I can clean up the screens, the adhesive part on the screen. So as you can see, that comes out pretty easily. So the adhesive strip that was from iFixit worked really well. they were able to hold the screen pretty tight. But because I had to open up the second time, it made it extremely painful to remove those strips. I was never able to pull like that. So the OEM Apple one is a lot easier to work with. So I know a lot of people saying like, oh, they start using the adhesive strips and make it really hard to repair. But in comparison, this is actually a lot easier. And I think it took me probably a quarter of the time, or maybe even fifth of the time that I spent to remove the adhesive strip from iFixit the second time. So anyway, so they're just lining everything up. They have numbers on them, so they only go in one way and one position. Um, anyways, for the second install or second reassembly, I have to purchase additional adhesive strips to put the screen back on. But for this one, for the first time, you know, it works really well. It's not meant to be removed almost right afterwards, after the installation. So, but the installation part was pretty easy. The instructions on iFixit website is pretty easy to follow. There is a little difference between this model that I have versus the ones that I think there might be some variations of the 2015 model. Some of the model has a hole, or either it was a microphone hole. I don't know what that is, but there is supposed to be a hole on the chassis on the very bottom of the screen on the right hand side of the Apple logo. If you can see here, there are 5 screw holes there. Supposedly there's another tiny little hole between the middle one and the one on the right. And so the adhesive strip has a little cut up for that. Mine does not have that, so I didn't really have to worry about it. And I did double check multiple times, or did check multiple times, not double checked. So anyway, so that went on pretty easily. Just trying to line things up in the bottom. So then once the adhesive is back on, or on the actual aluminum chassis, the screen can go back on bottom first, and then you can peel out all the covers, and then it'll just sit on top, and then you just kind of put enough pressure on it to basically fully attach the screen. But assuming that I install the speakers, or the right speaker properly the first time, I wouldn't have to reopen it. That would have been a success story, but unfortunately I didn't push the connector all the way in. It looks like it's connected, but in reality I think there was a little click that I didn't hear. So the second time I opened it up, I was able to push it all the way in, and I was actually able to test the speaker with an external monitor, plug in the Thunderbolt port to make sure that I had both left and right. The symptoms that I had leading me to think that the speaker wasn't installed correctly or something wrong with it was that when it boots up, I could barely hear the chime. I remember when I first installed the Mac OS on the original hard drive, when it turned on, I could hear that ding sound. And once I replaced the SSD, I didn't hear that, or very faintly. So I was like, something was kind of weird and wasn't right. I thought it was the bass speaker. I was like, oh man, I gotta spend more money to buy another speaker. So it turns out just the cable wasn't pushed all the way in. So, but anyway, so back to the current install is that now that you have the bottom set all the way and make sure they line up properly, you don't have the screen sort of skewed to the left or the right. So yeah, now power it on. As you can see, it's on. Everything is working except the speaker, and I got that fixed. Now you got the flashing question mark already because there's no OS on it. So yeah, I think the next step was just installing the OS, and according to iFixit, this was 1 out of 10 difficulty, but to me, it didn't feel like it was that hard. There was some times that was questionable, but overall wasn't that bad. So